Hi, Dio here, at Diosphere, a place for everyone interested in productivity, motivation and freedom. Today we will talk about Linux. Brief introduction to the Linux kernel, Linux distributions and the Linux file system. Everything you should know in order to make the switch from another operating system to Linux. And yes, Linux is also considered as an operating system, with a greater privacy and maximum flexibility. So let's begin. Linux is everywhere, from the smallest mobile phone to the biggest server in the world. If you search on the internet, you will be surprised that Linux is more than just another operating system. In its core structure, Linux is the kernel, the main component between the computer's hardware and its processes. Basically, the kernel is like a software that provides interface between hardware and applications. If it's not for the kernel, then the hardware and applications will not be able to communicate with each other. This kernel was developed by Linus Torvalds and is used by Linux distributions that we will talk about in a second, and by other operating systems such as Android. Okay, so what is a Linux distribution or distro? A distribution is an operating system that comes with the Linux kernel, GNU software and package manager. If you are new to the Linux world, all those terms, kernel, GNU, package manager, aren't familiar to you. But not to worry, on this channel there will be dedicated videos about those terms and lot more. But for now, we need to stick to the basic, knowing that Linux distribution is an operating system, just like macOS and Windows OS, is more than enough. There are so many Linux distributions, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. Basically, all of those distros works the same, with a few differences. You can update and upgrade your system. You can install or uninstall applications just like in Mac or Windows. Here, the user has the power to fully customize the whole look and feel of the system, and has the freedom to choose any distro that is suitable for its needs. And did I mention that it's free and open source? Free as in freedom, meaning that you can download, modify and distribute the Linux software and the kernel while respecting the GNU public license for the free and open source software. There will be videos on this channel about FOSS and explanation about different distros, so make sure you subscribe on this channel, click on the bell icon, and you will never miss any of the upcoming videos. Okay, now let's see how the file structure of the Linux file system looks like. If you are coming from macOS, this will be familiar, but if you are from Windows, it will be like a whole new world. In Linux, the user folder is called Home, which is equivalent to the Documents folder in Windows. You can see on the picture, I have my user folder Dio in my Home folder. That means that this machine is used only by one user. But you can have multiple users, and every one of them will have a dedicated folder in the Home folder. There you can find all of your downloads, documents, music, pictures and videos. Other than the Home folder, you also have access to the Root folder, which is the top of the hierarchy in the Linux file system. From here, you can navigate through the system and easily find everything you need. I said easily because in Linux, files and folders are much more organized. When you are installing new software on Linux, all of the software's components like icons, executables and libraries goes to a specific dedicated folder for those kind of files, so you will always know where to look. For instance, all of your background images can be found in root, user share backgrounds. Soon on this channel there will be more in-depth tutorial for the main folders in the Linux file system, but for now you need to know that the home folder is the place where you will work most of the time. In the home folder you can freely copy, paste, rename, remove any file or folder. But in the root folder, if you want to do more than just browsing through files and folders, you need to enter your password for the super user, or sudo. It's similar to run as administrator in Windows, and the same goes if you want to install or remove any software. There are a few reasons why I switched to Linux, and you can find them in the previous video, but the fact that people who are using Linux can freely say that they own their operating system and that they have full control over everything is just amazing. Now, maybe you're asking yourself where to start. The first thing you need to do is to choose your distribution. And I have few recommendations for you if you are new to Linux. Endeavor OS, Reborn OS, Linux Mint, and Elementary OS. All of the links for those distributions can be found in the description down below. So to summarize everything that we have spoken in this video, Linux is the kernel. Distribution is the operating system, and while you're installing the distribution, you're also installing the Linux kernel. Linux is free and open source, meaning that you can download, modify and distribute the Linux software and the kernel while respecting the GNU public license for the free and open source software. The home folder in the Linux file system is equivalent to the Documents folder in Windows, where you will work most of the time. And don't think too much, just choose any distro, and you can always switch to another one afterwards if you want to see how those distros differ from each other. Thank you for watching. If this video was helpful for you, leave it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe on this channel, and I will see you in the next one.